Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show for a thriving life and business. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And today's show, we are going to be talking about cultivating your inner resilience in uncertain times, part 2. And this is a really important show because in our world, life can feel very unpredictable, and you may feel things are hectic or crazy in your personal life, and then there's the world. How do you stay grounded? How do you stay centered? How do you stay aligned and empowered with your purpose? We're going to explore that more today and learn how to build your emotional and spiritual resilience, meeting life's challenges with grace, clarity, and courage, and expose, and explore. Like we're going to uncover and expose the things that you may not have realized about how you may or may not be resilient. And we're going to explore and expose more of that and learn how to shift from fear to faith, release your overwhelm, and reconnect to the strength of your soul. Together, let's create a life you love. I'm your host, Nancy Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive business expert, combining my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life. And the show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. So let's talk a little bit about, again, what really is resilience and what is inner resilience. Inner resilience is your ability to stay calm, emotionally centered, mentally clear, and spiritually connected, even in these uncertain times when life throws you curveballs and you are not sure what's going to happen from moment to moment, day to day. But learning inner resilience can help you to navigate those challenges with ease and grace, and being able to feel more connected, helping you to be able to feel connected, to feel empowered, to feel inspired. And we're going to talk more about that. So I have questions from last week's show that I want to talk more about, because we were talking about what resilience is and what it isn't. But first, I want to talk more about what it is not. Okay, so that all of you are clear what it is and what it isn't. So if you are in pushing and you're trying to push through your feelings, push through life, that's not resilience. If you're suppressing your emotions, pretending everything's fine, not resilience. If you're trying to hustle or bypass your feelings with positivity, not resilience. And last week we had a couple of questions, and I want to review all the questions because all of them are really important to talk about resilience and what's not resilience. So Charles asked, going back to those who pretend to be calm or numb, is that not healthy? And the truth is, that is not resilience. If you are pretending, then you are not in your authentic self. You're not connected to your soul, to that deep inner strength, inner resilience within you. And pretending is not, it's disconnection. It's not resilience. So, and then Charles also asked, what if you are numb inside and act like nothing is wrong? You appear to be okay on the outside to others, but you don't feel anything. And when you are in that place where you are numbed out or not feeling, that's not resilience. That is being numb and not able to be, it's being disconnected from your feelings, being disconnected from what your truth is, what your heart, what your soul is trying to support you in. And what happens is when you feel, and this could be from overwhelm, when you go into overwhelm, or there's too many things happening at once, or too many feelings, or you've had trauma, I really believe that a lot of people went into post-traumatic stress disorder and had trauma reactions during COVID. And I feel that part of the craziness of our world has to do with people did not heal from all the things that were coming up for them. And so now there's a lot of, and I talked about this when we were talking about anger, acting out behavior, acting out emotions, acting out anger, acting out other emotions, and acting in emotions. So acting out emotions like when you are hitting or you're screaming or yelling or feeling irritable or road rage, any of those, that's acting out. And that's acting out anger. And then, excuse me, got something in my eye. And then acting in emotions are acting in when you are doing things that are self-destructive and not supportive. Like you may be doing addictive behaviors, like eating or drinking or smoking or other kinds of things that are really not supporting you. And they're coping mechanisms, but they're not healthy coping mechanisms. And you use them in order to deal with perhaps the numbness. And so one of the other questions that came in was from Misty. And Misty asked, how long can a person be in the shock state? So what happens is that when you are numb, when you are feeling that numbness, you have shut down. And I call it, you may be in what I call shock, where you can't feel, because what happened was you went into overwhelm. And all the emotions that you weren't able to feel, you just shut out and shut down. And shock is also, it could be a protective mechanism. I talked about that last show. But shock, you could be in shock for days, months, years, a lifetime. People go in and out of shock. You may have shock around one area of your life, but not around others. So you can go in and out of the shock state. So if you ever find yourself in, I don't know, or you're totally numb, you may be in shock. And the reason why people go into shock again is because you've gone into overwhelm. You've gone into overwhelm, too many stimulation, too many emotions. And in order to survive and cope, you go into shock. So this is about learning. Hopefully you're learning new things that you didn't learn before so that perhaps you can recognize, oh, maybe I'm in shock. So definitely, if you have any other questions about anything that I've said, definitely put it into the chat. And so again, you can be in shock for years or a lifetime or days or months. So, and I also want you to know as when you're grieving is one of the parts of the grief process. When a loved one dies, or when you've lost your job, or you break up, or your relationship breaks up, or you're having a health challenge and you need to grieve, you could be in shock. It could be denial, where you're not sure. In fact, the next question, we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. So Anastasia asked, what if a person never reacted to a situation and just kept going like it did not faze them and won't talk about things? So someone who has done that, they may be in what we call denial. They're denying that the situation ever happened. They're denying that it's real. They don't want to deal with it. Or they could be in shock. And it's been the thought of dealing with that situation feels so overwhelming for them, they just shut down and go numb. So it depends. It may be one or the other, but more than likely, if someone is not dealing with a situation, then they're either in denial or shock. And all of those are what I call the ego defense mechanisms, which on a psychological level helps you to survive. But at some point, in order to be healthier and to be resilient and to have emotional intelligence, because resilience is really about having emotional intelligence. And it's being able to work through denial, work through shock, work through your emotions so that you're allowing yourself to feel. And one of my mottos is, in order to heal, you need to feel. So that's what you want to do. So I'm hoping that you are able to listen. Those of you who ask the questions, that you're able to listen, or you are listening, and that I answered the questions for you. So let's continue to talk about resilience. So I told you resilience is not, because if you go into a fear spiral, and I talked about this last week too, if you're in a fear spiral and you're going down the rabbit hole and you're going down round and round and round, not resilience. If you're in your head and you're in the what ifs, not resilience. If you try, and this is a big one for many people. So if you find yourself so busy, constantly busy, that you're do, go, you may not be wanting to feel what's really going on, because constant motion, constant busyness may be the way that you're dealing with trying to continue to keep going so you do not have to feel. That's what happens. That's what happens with workaholics. They're work, so they don't have to feel, which is not resilience and not healthy. So that's all. If you feel burnt out or uninspired, or you're feeling disconnected spiritually, not resilience. If you find yourself second guessing everything, or you're having decision fatigue, imposter syndrome, not resilience. You're reacting rather than responding, not resilience. And what these symptoms mean is that your nervous system is in survival mode. Now, I talked last week about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And fight or flight, so when you are in that place of reaction and you're reacting to a situation, and that may be what you need to do in order to survive. And that's what happens, is our nervous system is instinctively going into that situation to survive. But what has happened is, over time, you end up totally, like, you end up being in chronic overload. And that chronic overload definitely shuts you down and is not resilience. And it's really important learning the coping skills to help you be more resilient so that you can cope. And inner resilience, again, and everybody listening, whether you're listening live or you're listening to the podcast or the YouTube at a later time, take a breath and breathe. And there was a skill that I taught on one of the past shows, and I'm going to teach it again because it's a way to help your nervous system calm down in minutes. And it's the 4-7-8 breath. So you breathe in for 4 and count to 4. You hold for 7. And then you let go for 8. And you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and let go and count to 8. And one more time, take a deep breath in and count to 4, and hold for 7, and then count to 8 on the out breath. And that actually calms your nervous system. And that's what you want, to calm that nervous system. So I'm going to give you an example of resilience, inner resilience. And I'm going to give you the story of Jenny. And Jenny, and you've heard me talk about Jenny before, is in Jenny and Jimmy. What happened with Jenny is Jimmy would go into the rage and Jenny would just shut down and freeze. And we got Mickey in the house. Hi, Mickey. All right. So Jenny would shut down, go into what we call freeze. And again, freeze. So you have fight, that's aggression mode, fighting. Flight is fear or running or hiding. Freeze is shutting down when you get paralyzed. Like, have you ever had the experience where you want to say something to someone? Let's say they've been nasty or mean, or even like with Jimmy, he would be yelling and she would want to say, stop, shut up, leave me alone. But she couldn't. She would totally go inward and she would freeze and get paralyzed. That is freeze. And then fawn is when you people please. So very often people who were, that they were, the way that they survived trauma, especially in your family system, is you would people please. And so you were so busy people pleasing that you forgot about you. I also call that codependency, that you're so other focused that you don't even know who you are or what you want or what you feel. It's learning that. And Jenny would do that too because she was afraid of Jimmy. She was afraid. She didn't want to hear his rages. But the thing is no matter what Jenny did, it wasn't going to stop Jimmy because he was out of control with his rage. And so sometimes she would trigger him unconsciously, okay, subconsciously, unconsciously. And if you know I'm going to do my quick Psych 101 so we're all on the same page. Your conscious mind is the part of you that's conscious, aware, alert, making the decision, and choosing to be here. So thank you, conscious mind of yours. Your subconscious or unconscious mind is the part that is reacting, triggering, having emotional reactions, shutting down, going numb. All of those are part, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn are all part of the reactions from the subconscious, unconscious mind. And originally, it was a protection. I will get, hi, Annie. I will get to you shortly. And originally, it was a protection. And now what happened was that it became, you started going unconscious and you are reacting and doing things that happen, that it just, you go on automatic. And you're doing that a lot. That's why it's so important to know what's going on in your unconscious, subconscious mind. Limiting beliefs, emotions, unresolved trauma happens, is there. All those limiting beliefs and emotions. And then you have your superconscious mind, which is your soul, your higher self, that wise, unconditionally loving part of you. It's God, universe. And that's what you want to be connected in your resilience. So being conscious and being in the superconscious mind is resilient and coming out of subconscious mind. So hopefully, and so what happens is you want to learn what's going on, becoming aware so that you can come out of that unconscious state to come into awareness and presence and groundedness, learning to make decisions from a responding state instead of a reacting state. That's resilience. Okay, let's get to Annie's question. Annie said, did you say, or you did say they were able to work things out, right? So, yes, what happened with Jenny and Jimmy is they came into counseling and they started work. And here's the thing. If one of you decides to go into counseling, your relationship can work. If both of you go into counseling, either your relationship will work out and you'll both heal, or you'll end up being a better you. And if it's not meant for you to stay together, then you can be conscious in your separation. But in this case, Jenny and Jimmy did stay together. They worked through their stuff individually and as a couple, and they were able to stay together. So I want you to know that things can work out. Like when you do your work, you don't know what kind of miracles and magic and possibilities happen. And that's the land of resilience. When you work on being more resilient, and it's being in that place of alignment so that you can allow the magic and miracles to happen. So, thank you for that question. And so, how do you go from fear to faith? So, when you have that time, and here's the thing, if you are in your head and you're in, I call it spin mode, and you're da, 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 and the mind is going. You're not present. You're either in your past or the future. And one of the things that's going to be really important to help you with resilience is coming out of that place and coming into alignment, coming into the place of peace, of love, of joy, of your soul or your higher self, the higher aspects of you. Then you know, when you feel, a real key to this is feeling. When you feel peace and love and joy, you're in resilience. So, how do you get there? How do you stay there? How do you go from that place of fear to the place of faith? So, I will be talking about that shortly. First, one of the ways that you can help yourself to get into the place of resilience and help yourself calm down, clear your energy, connect more deeply to your higher self and your soul, and even connect with your intuition, is through my intuitive decision-making meditation. And you can go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com, the name of the show, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation, meditation. So, Rebel, can you put it on the screen and in the chat? Thank you. So, inspiredandempoweredliving.com /meditation, meditation, and then there's not only a meditation, but there's also a PDF. So if you want to read it and learn how to do it, you can do that as well. So I invite you to do that. So how do you shift from fear to faith? Well, the first thing is, okay, now when I was talking in the beginning about numbness and being numb, you need to recognize that perhaps that maybe you're in shock, that you're numb, that you've numbed out. If you're not feeling and you're just going through life, going through the emotions, something's going on. And the first thing, now you may feel fear or you may not, because if you're numb, you may not even be aware of the fear. And the first thing is to acknowledge what you're feeling. And it's okay to acknowledge that you feel fear. Listen, part of being human is feeling. And feeling fear, it's not about not feeling the fear. It's about acknowledging the fear and moving through it so that you can get to the energy of faith. But if you don't acknowledge fear, if you pretend, I'm fine, nothing's bothering me, I'm totally okay, then you're not going to be able to move through it. So the first step is being able to acknowledge that fear and say, okay, I'm feeling fear. And then you can ask yourself, what do I need to do for my self-care? What do I need to do to take care of myself right now? I'm feeling fear. Maybe you're feeling anxiety. And if you are, then finding your tools, your coping skills that will empower you to help you get back into a calmer state, to help you get back into that place of resilience. And what happens is that fear will narrow your energy and it pulls you into the survival mode. And what you want is to be in thrival. You want to be in that place of faith. So what happens is when you feel the fear, when you're aware, and this is again, becoming aware that you're feeling fear. And one of the ways is you may feel like you're all tight or tense. If you're stressed out, you're in some type of emotion. It could be fear, it could be anger. And sometimes it's a combination of a few of them. And it's learning to breathe through it. Or we talked about exercising. I talked about the breath, the 4-7-8 breath. And you can use the 4-7-8 breath wherever you are. I mean, if you're in a meeting or you're at work or you're going to or on the way to a meeting or you're doing something, you can do the 4-7-8 breath. You can even go to the bathroom if you need to take a few minutes before you go to the next part of what you're going to do during the day. And when you calm your nervous system down, then you can say, What will help me get back into faith? Now, it's interesting because I wasn't even planning on saying this, but it came. What happens is when you calm your nervous system down, and one of the ways, it's really interesting, but when you put your hand on your heart or hands on your heart, there's also something that happens for you. It's one of the ways that you can start tuning in to you, tuning into that energy of faith. And you can ask for help. You can ask your guides and your angels, your higher self, your soul, help me feel faith. Like you need to get out of that place of fear. You making that decision, conscious decision. That's how your conscious mind empowers you. Because when you make the conscious decision, oh, I'm in fear, or I'm feeling anxiety, or I'm angry, or I'm upset. I need to do, or I'm numb. I need to do something to bring me into a calmer state of being. And so it could be the breath work. It could be journaling. It could be going to the gym. It could be, I just, I just had a situation with a client, and we were talking, and she was feeling really stressed out. And all of a sudden, I got a vision that she needed to do the punching bag. I saw the bag and I saw her punching it with like boxing gloves. And she said to me, "Did you know I used to box?" And I said, "No, I didn't know that." And so what ended up happening is that would be so if maybe you need to go to the gym and let off steam somewhere. It's about doing this. Remember, I'm always talking about letting go of the emotions so that you are not hurting yourself, someone else, or the environment. So punching a punching bag. How many of you remember bozos, or the child one that you punch when you were a kid, or punching a pillow? Safe ways so that you're not hurting yourself or someone else. And so really, I want to support all of you in finding the tools. And then once you become aware, and once you and here's the thing, learning resilience, learning to do the coping skills to bring your nervous system into a calmer, aligned state will help you to be able to then go into the place of faith. And that maybe it'll be meditation. Maybe you couldn't meditate before, but in a calmer state, you can meditate and connect more deeply to you. Or you can use my meditation that I talked about. Or maybe you want to pray. I love prayer. I like meditation. I like prayer. I have clients who use inspirational reading and do inspirational reading. So that's another option. These are all possibilities to help you move through the fear into faith. And the more you learn to connect with yourself, the more you learn to connect with the higher aspects, the more you learn to connect with God, higher power. And this is a process. It can help restore your faith. It could help you bring you back into that place that you've been longing for. And I want you to know that peace is possible. Faith is possible. All of it and that you deserve it. And it's your time. Annie says, it sounds like it's worth looking into. Yes, Annie, definitely. Calming yourself down so that you can then find your tools. So you want to find your tools to calm yourself down, to cope, so that you can become more resilient and then move into that faith process. And we are going to continue to talk more about resilience next week because it's such an important topic in these times. It's an important topic all the time. Resilience is a skill that you can learn. And I really want to support you all in learning it because it's a life-changing skill. Mickey says, we are building a toolbox here. I love it, Mickey. Yes, that's what I want for all of you. You're building the toolbox here. Exactly. Thank you. So, to be continued next week. So stay tuned for more inspired and empowered living for thriving life and business. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, my YouTube channel. And you can also hear the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And I wish you all an inspired and empowered day or evening, and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.